History, a word that conjures images of grand events, monumental changes, and the relentless march of time. It is a vast, intricate tapestry woven from countless threads, each representing a moment, a person, a decision that shaped the world as we know it today, a grand narrative of empires rising and falling. These colossal entities, built on the ambitions and dreams of many, have left indelible marks on the landscape of history. From the towering pyramids of Egypt to the sprawling cities of Rome, each empire tells a story of human endeavor, of triumphs and failures, of glory and decay, of wars won and lost, the clash of armies, the strategies of generals, the bravery of soldiers. All these elements come together in the theater of war. These conflicts, often brutal and devastating, have shaped the course of nations and the destinies of millions. They remind us of the cost of ambition and the price of peace, of powerful men and their ambitions, leaders who have left their mark on history through their vision, their decisions, and sometimes their tyranny. Figures like Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, and Napoleon Bonaparte loom large in our collective memory, their legacies a mix of admiration and cautionary tales. But what about the countless individual lives woven into this tapestry, the everyday people who lived in the shadows of these grand events? Their stories are often overshadowed by the more dramatic narratives of kings and battles, yet they are no less important. They are the threads that give texture and depth to the fabric of history, the unsung heroes, the forgotten victims, the ordinary people who lived, loved, and died. Their lives, though not recorded in grand histories, are the true essence of our past. They are the farmers, the artisans, the mothers and fathers, the children who played in the streets. Their joys and sorrows, their hopes and fears are the heartbeat of history. Their stories, often overlooked, whisper to us from the past, offering a richer, more nuanced understanding of our shared human story. These whispers come to us through the artifacts they left behind, the letters they wrote, the photographs that captured moments of their lives. They speak of a world that was, and in doing so, they help us understand the world that is. These are the hidden narratives of history, waiting to be unearthed. Each discovery, each piece of evidence adds a new layer to our understanding. Archaeologists and historians work tirelessly to bring these stories to light, piecing together the fragments of the past to form a more complete picture of our heritage. These are the stories that give a human face to historical events. They remind us that behind every date, every event, there were real people with real emotions. People who laughed, cried, loved, and lost. Their experiences make history relatable, transforming it from a series of abstract events into a living, breathing narrative. They remind us that history is not merely a series of dates and battles. It is a complex web of human experiences, each one contributing to the larger story. The documents, the artifacts, the timelines, they are all pieces of a puzzle that, when put together, reveal the intricate and beautiful mosaic of our past. It's about real people grappling with real challenges, the struggles of daily life, the efforts to survive and thrive, the moments of joy and sorrow. These are the true stories of history. They show us the resilience of the human spirit, the capacity for hope and perseverance in the face of adversity. Their triumphs and tragedies offer us valuable lessons about courage, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit. These stories inspire us, reminding us that we are part of a long continuum of human experience. They teach us that despite the passage of time, the core of what it means to be human remains unchanged. We are all connected by the threads of history, and it is through understanding these threads that we can better understand ourselves and our place in the world. We all know Johannes Gutenberg, the father of the printing press. His invention revolutionized the way information was disseminated, making books more accessible and affordable. Gutenberg's printing press is often hailed as one of the most important inventions of the second millennium, a true game-changer in the history of human communication. But what about Peter Schoeffer, his apprentice? Schoeffer was not just a mere assistant, he was a visionary in his own right. Born in Gernsheim, Germany, Schoeffer initially trained as a scribe before joining Gutenberg's workshop. His background in manuscript production gave him unique insights into the needs and challenges of the printing process. Schoeffer's contributions were crucial. He perfected the process of casting metal type, a technique that was essential for the efficient production of printed materials. This innovation allowed for the creation of more uniform and durable typefaces, which in turn led to higher quality printed texts. Schoeffer's expertise in metallurgy and his meticulous attention to detail were instrumental in refining this process. This breakthrough enabled mass production of books. Before this, books were painstakingly copied by hand, a process that could take months or even years. Schoeffer's advancements made it possible to produce multiple copies of a book in a fraction of the time, democratizing knowledge and making it accessible to a much wider audience. Schoeffer's ingenuity didn't stop there. He also played a key role in developing new printing inks. The inks used in the early days of printing were often inconsistent and prone to smudging. Schoeffer experimented with various formulations, eventually creating inks that were more stable and produced clearer, sharper text. His work in this area was crucial for the readability and longevity of printed materials. These inks were more durable and produced sharper text. This was particularly important for the preservation of printed works, ensuring that they could be read and appreciated by future generations. Schoeffer's innovations in ink formulation were a key factor in the success of the early printing industry. Without Schoeffer's innovations, the printing revolution might have been delayed for years. His contributions laid the groundwork for the rapid spread of printed materials across Europe and beyond. The impact of his work can still be felt today, as the principles he helped establish continue to underpin modern printing techniques. Yet his name remains largely unknown, a footnote in the grand narrative of the printing press. While Gutenberg is rightly celebrated, it's important to remember the unsung heroes like Schoeffer, whose innovations and hard work made the printing revolution possible. Their legacy lives on in every book, newspaper, and printed page we read today. The American Revolution, a fight for liberty and independence. But this fight wasn't limited to battlefields. Women played a crucial role. They became spies, nurses, and even soldiers. Their contributions were vital, yet often overlooked. Consider the countless women who ran farms and businesses while their husbands were away fighting. They ensured economic stability. They provided crucial supplies for the troops. Their resilience and resourcefulness were essential to the success of the revolution. These hidden heroines deserve to be remembered and celebrated. World War II ended in 1945. The world rejoiced as the long and brutal conflict finally came to an end. Cities erupted in celebrations, and people everywhere hoped for a future of peace and prosperity. The newspapers were filled with headlines declaring victory and the end of hostilities. For most, it was a time to rebuild and move forward. But not everyone received the message. But for Hiro Onoda, a Japanese soldier stationed in the Philippines, the war continued for 3 more decades. Onoda was part of a small group of soldiers who were ordered to stay behind and conduct guerrilla warfare. They were told to never surrender and to continue fighting until they were given direct orders to stop. This directive would shape the next 30 years of Onoda's life. He refused to believe the war was over. Despite numerous attempts to inform him and his comrades that the war had ended, Onoda dismissed them as enemy propaganda. Leaflets were dropped, loudspeakers were used, and even letters from family members were sent. But Onoda remained steadfast in his belief that the war was still ongoing. He lived in hiding, surviving on his wits and jungle lore. Onoda and his fellow soldiers adapted to their harsh environment, using their military training to hunt for food, build shelters, and evade capture. They moved through the dense jungles, always on alert, always ready for an enemy that, unbeknownst to them, no longer existed. Onoda's story is a stark reminder of war's enduring impact. The psychological scars of conflict can be deep and long-lasting. For Onoda, the war never truly ended. His mind was trapped in a state of perpetual combat, unable to accept the reality of peace. This is a powerful testament to the mental and emotional toll that war can take on individuals. It highlights the psychological toll, the isolation, and the immense strain that soldiers endure. Onoda's isolation was not just physical, but also mental. He was cut off from the world, from his family, and from the truth. This isolation only deepened his resolve to continue fighting, as he clung to the last orders he received, and the shattered lives that linger long after the guns fall silent. The communities affected by war are left to pick up the pieces, and the soldiers who return home often carry invisible wounds. Onoda's story is an extreme example, but it underscores a universal truth about the lasting impact of war on both individuals and societies. His experience, though extreme, compels us to consider the unseen wounds of war and the long road to healing. It reminds us that the end of conflict does not mean the end of suffering. The journey to recovery is long and arduous, requiring support, understanding, and compassion. Onoda's eventual return to Japan in 1974, after being convinced that the war was truly over, marked the end of his personal battle, but also highlighted the need for continued efforts to support those affected by war. War's devastation extends far beyond battlefields. It seeps into homes and families. It leaves behind scars, both physical and emotional. These hidden costs are often overlooked. Consider the children who grow up amidst conflict. Their childhoods are stolen. Their education is disrupted. Their families are torn apart, or the families who lose loved ones bearing the weight of grief and loss. These are the unseen casualties of war. Their stories remind us of the true cost of conflict. History is not just shaped by kings and queens. Ordinary individuals also play a part. Their acts of courage, often unseen, can spark change and inspire generations.